to Fright Night. My Little Pony, Ponyville Mysteries, Peryton Panic. Now to the story. My Little Pony, Ponyville Mysteries, Peryton Panic. The prologue. The pony was not pleased. That meddling Princess Twilight always poked her muzzle where it didn't belong. And where the annoying Alicorn went, her equally frustrating friends followed. If the pony didn't act soon, moons of carefully planning would be lost, and the live would remain closed forever. The time for caution had passed. Now it was time to set magic into motion. The pony poured a glowing elixir into the dirt at the barrier of the live wood. As the drops of liquid hit the soil of the ever-free forest, the ground churned. Now it would be ready to accept the seeds the ponies had cultivated for just this purpose. Thank the Pony of Shadows that those bumbling cutie mark crusaders had knocked over the fear fern in the greenhouse instead of this plant. The trembling forest floor grew still once again, with only a slight golden shine to show where the potion had fallen. Blue Moon used his magic to place each starburst-shaped seed into the gleaming dirt. With a nudge of his power, the seeds burrowed deep into the earth. The moment of destiny had come. From this point on, there would be no turning back. Chapter 1. Sweetie Belle had never played tag with a phoenix before. She giggled and the flame-colored bird squawked, "You can't touch me!" Before flapping deeper into the ever-free forest. She chased after him, though through the huge trees, ducking under their outstretched branches. But as Sweetie Belle reached the clearing, the phoenix was nowhere to be seen. "Guess I lost the game," she shrugged. "Yup," came a familiar voice behind her. Sweetie Belle turned, surprised to see Big Mac nearby. She had thought she was the only pony in the forest today. Apple Bloom, Scootaloo, and Skooloo had been too busy wallpapering Cranky Doodle's new treehouse, so they decided not to come along on her adventure. Big Mac kicked a tree. The Zap apple floated down from it, landing in a perfect stack in its basket. "Do you need some help?" Sweetie Belle asked. What? Wrong voice. Sweetie Belle has a deep voice now. Everybody. "That's ever so kind of you to offer, Sweetie Belle," Big Mac said, speaking in a cultured accent, a lot like Rarity, Sweetie Belle realized. "But I'm not the creature who is seeking your assistance. There are times one must look beyond what one sees. Some things are clearer in the darkness. Fireflies, for example. Yes, though the word had summoned them, fireflies filtered down from the tree and swirled around Sweetie Belle in a flickering dance. "Not sure I understand," she told Big Mac. Or at least, it had been Big Mac. Now it had horns sprouting from his head, and a long beard like ZZ Top. ZZ Top has big beards, they're like movies from the 80s. "Look to the leaves," Big Mac, not Big Mac winked, gesturing with a now paw-shaped front foot. Sweetie Belle watched as the forest carpet of fallen foliage began to shift, as though under the weight of an invisible four-footed creature. A path of odd hoofprints appeared ahead of her. Some of them were hoofprints. The others looked as if they had been made by talons. "Don't forget your turnip and spaghetti raincoat," Big Mac called after her before stretching his wings and flying off. The that was weird, wasn't it, Sweetie Belle thought, as she got on a pink-striped pogo stick and bounced down the footprint trail. Took a few more hops across the field of singing sunflowers before she realized that she had been in a dream. And she knew it was a dream. That must mean Princess Luna was nearby. At least, Sweetie Belle thought. That's what had happened every other time she had realized she was dreaming. Maybe Luna wanted to talk to her. It must be lonely being Princess Luna, Princess of the Night, Sweetie Belle thought, staying awake when every pony was asleep. Princess Luna! Hello? Are you here? Sweetie Belle called out, looking around. There was no answer. And suddenly, everything shifted. The sunshine and warmth of the forest was gone. In the sky, the sun had dwindled into a shiny, glowing ring of light, covered almost entirely by shadow. It was eclipse, Sweetie Belle realized. An icy wind whipped past her flank, and she shivered at the sound of crunching leaves behind her. Sweetie Belle turned. Luna? She whispered. It wasn't Luna. Sweetie Belle watched in terror as a fearsome creature stepped up towards her. It tossed its huge head, and sharp, enormous antlers gleamed like silver in the faint light. Flaming white eyes burned into its shadowy face, and wings made of smoke unfurled from its back. Then with a rush, faster than she could blink, the beast leapt at her. Wham! Sweetie Belle hit the floor, screaming. She pounded her hooves against the creature's silk hide. Wait, silk? Sweetie Belle opened her eyes to find she was on the floor of her room, battling her own bed sheets. Embarrassed, she realized she must have fallen out of the bed when she woke up from her dream turned nightmare. And suddenly her bedroom door flew open. Rarity rushed in, her sleeping mask pushed over her horn and her mane in curls. Sweetie Belle, darling, I heard you're screaming. Is everything all right? Rarity asked, shining a globe of magical light around the room. I had a nightmare, Sweetie Belle admitted. Rarity smoothed Sweetie Belle's mane with a gentle big sister smile. Well, fortunately, I know just the thing for those, Rarity soothed, returning in a moment with 2 streaming cups of some kind of tea. Now I know it's been ages and you're much too grown up for it, but perhaps just tonight I might sing the rose song. Sweetie Belle nodded and sipped her tea. That lullaby always made her feel safe. The 2 sisters snuggled up together, and Rarity began to sing. A rose has thorns to keep it safe, but ponies have not one. Wild rose blooms where it is placed, but ponies seek the sun. Rose is sweet and beautiful, Rarity tailored off. Its scent is lush and rare. Sweetie Belle prompted, but she quickly realized that Rarity had forgotten the words. She had fallen asleep. Sweetie Belle pulled up the covers and tried to drift off too. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw the creature in her mind, and it felt as if it were watching her. Chapter 2. Sweetie Belle yawned widely. Crooked cattail. Sweetie Belle, stop yawning, Apple Bloom complained, her own jaws gaping in response. Those things are downright contagious. Sweetie Scootaloo nodded as she yawned too. Man, I'm screwing up all the accents. Sorry, Sweetie Belle said. After her nightmare last night, she'd been too afraid to get much sleep. But she couldn't tell her friends that. Ever since she had faced down the were-pony Timberwolf version of Twist, all Ponyville thought she was brave. She didn't want to change their minds. She liked not being called a scaredy pony. She really You really think that's gonna work? Scootaloo asked as the Kitty Mark Crusaders made their way to Fluttershy's animal sanctuary. Of course it will, Apple Bloom said enthusiastically. Fluttershy's gonna love Lily Moon, and Ambrosia Moon, and Amber Moon, once she gets to know them all like we do. They know a lot of nighttime-themed ponies, apparently. That's a good start. Sweetie Belle wasn't so sure. Twilight Sparkle had made it pretty clear that the Moon family was mixed up in some dangerous magic. Ever since they moved into the spooky house atop Horseshoe Hill, strange things had been happening around Ponyville. First, the Boggle attacked the schoolhouse. Then Twist turned into a timber wolf. Next, the Olden Pony terrorized the town, not theorized it, although that could be terrifying. And every single one of those events was somehow related to Lily Moon and Amber Moon and Nightmare Moon and Sailor Moon and Moon and Terra Moon and Dark Moon and the Death Star. But the Kitty Mark Crusaders had decided that their own friends deserved a chance to prove their innocence to Twilight, which was where Apple Bloom's plan came in. Fluttershy is the nicest pony we know. When she sees how helpful Lily Moon and Amber Moon are at her animal sanctuary, she'll tell Twilight. Then they can help Applejack with the harvest and Pinkie Pie with bacon. And soon every pony will see how great they are, Apple Bloom said enthusiastically. Sweetie Belle knew it was no use. Once Apple Bloom came up with an idea, she never seemed to think of all the things that could go wrong. Fortunately, Scootaloo did, because she's a chicken. We were not even sure we can trust Lily Moon and Amber Moon, Scootaloo said. I mean, they're our friends and all, but they still haven't told us the whole story about their family. Well, this is a nice surprise, came a soft voice. The Kitty Mark Crusaders jumped, startled to see Fluttershy smiling at them. They wanted to see if she had fangs, just to make sure. They all had been so deep in conversation, Sweetie Belle hadn't realized they had reached the Sweet Feather Sanctuary. I'd love to invite you in for some tea, but today's bath day, Fluttershy explained gently. I have a lot of animals to wash. I don't want to, if any of them get cold waiting around, Angel Bunny nodded impatiently. A shower cap on his ears and a towel around his waist. That's why we're here, Apple Bloom said, cheerfully. We thought you might need a few extra hooves to pitch in. Oh, how thoughtful, Fluttershy beamed. That would be wonderful. But when Amber Moon and Lily Moon arrived a few moments later, Sweetie Belle saw Fluttershy's smile shrink. Are you here to help too? Fluttershy asked nervously. Mm-hmm. They love animals, in fact. Lily Moon got her cutie mark because she's so good with creatures. Apple Bloom said. Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo nodded enthusiastically. I didn't know that, Fluttershy said kindly. Well, it would be nice to have some help today. Baths always take longer than you expect, especially when the otters insist on playing in the mud as soon as you get them clean. I know the feeling. My kitty mark is for supernatural creatures, Lily Moon whispered to the CMC as they followed Fluttershy into the animal sanctuary. Apple Bloom shrugged. I didn't think we would need to mention that part just yet. Bathtubs of all shapes and sizes were set up on the sanctuary lawn. Ducks floated happily in the bath buckets. A line of gerbils waited their turn, and any tiny diving board into the small basin. Harry the bear growled with content as he snuggled deeper into his bubble bath. Foam up to his nose, piles of fluffy towels and sweet-smelling soaps were arranged nearby. Sweetie Belle was surprised to see every kind of bathing tool imaginable, from extra long-handled scrub brushes for giraffes' necks to soft moss washcloths for lizard scales. Fluttershy assigned each pony an animal to bathe, and soon the CMC were scrubbing. For alongside Lily Moon and Amber Moon, Sweetie Belle lovingly poured lavender shampoo on Lula, the sloth's fur. Apple Bloom was having a little more trouble wrangling Weenie the hedgehog, who apparently didn't like bath today. He also apparently did not have the chaos crystals, so he is doomed, and no rings either to escape. Sonic is not here to save him. Sorry, we're late, Lily Moon said, when Fluttershy was out of earshot. It took us longer to get out of the house than we expected. She means Mother doesn't want us to see you anymore, Amber Moon said flatly. Chapter 3. What? Sweetie Belle squeaked up. What? Sweetie Belle squeaked. The Kitty Mart Crusaders gapped. The duck, Scootaloo's tubs quacking, and a lot. Why? Apple Bloom asked. Princess Twilight Sparkles dragged our whole family in for a lecture about unsafe magic. Lily Moon rolled her eyes. She practically blamed our parents for everything bad that's ever happened in Ponyville. You can see why they aren't too thrilled with us being your friends. That's not our fault, Scootaloo pointed out. Before Lily Moon could reply, a loud roar split the air. The ponies turned to see Harry the bear standing in his tub, teeth bared. He was obviously upset about something, thought Sweetie Belle. She couldn't tell what. Maybe the water had gotten cold. Maybe he didn't have enough picnic baskets. Who knows? What's up with them? Scootaloo frowned. Sweetie Belle peered closer at Harry. His eyes were tracking something unknown. Sweetie Belle thought it must be moving shadow. But then she blinked, and there was nothing there. Harry the bear swept his paws at empty air. Sweetie Belle thought for a moment. Then she heard bells chiming. But that was silly. Why would there be bells out there among the bathtubs? Now the other animals in the sanctuary were growing agitated, chirping, snarling, braying, howling. Something scared the animals, Lily Moon said. Scootaloo duck quacked in panic and flapped its wings violently as it flew out of its bath, splashing the ponies with sooty water. "You think?" Amber Moon said, shaking her wet mane. Like a furry tide, the creatures poured out of the tubs. Goats bounded away in sloshing stampede. The gerbils abandoned their diving board, scampering to hide in the nearby bushes. Apple Bloom was nearly knocked over as a wave of fleeing mice mobbed her in their rush to escape. Sweetie Belle looked down to see that even Lula, the sloth, was trying to get away, although very slowly. "Oh no! What's wrong?" Fluttershy cried as she flew over, her hooves full of fresh towels. "Stop! Wait!" she called to the fleeing animals. "You'll get yourself dirty again!" But it was too late. "Get out of my shed!" The once peaceful sanctuary was in shambles. In upturned bathtubs and muddy grass, Fluttershy turned to the younger ponies, and Sweetie Belle could tell she was deeply upset. "I think maybe you two should go home," Fluttershy said softly to Lily Moon and Amber Moon. The sisters looked at her, hurt and surprised. "But they didn't do anything wrong," Sweetie Belle protested. "It's okay, Sweetie Belle," Lily Moon said, flipping her blue and white mane to her side. "Yes, we know when we're not wanted," Amber Moon added acidly. "Come along, Lily Moon." Together the sisters turned their backs to Fluttershy and walked I'm sorry, Fluttershy told the Cutie Mark Crusaders. It's just that animals have never been scared like this before. The only new thing in my sanctuary was them. Chapter 4. Sweetie Belle didn't suspect anything when Rarity invited the Cutie Mark Crusaders to Twilight's castle for dinner that night. But as soon as she walked in and saw that Starlight Glimmer, Spike, Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy were there, Sweetie Belle knew what was really going on. It was a sisterly advice ambush, also known as SAS. If you can't spell, otherwise it's known as SAA. Say, Sweetie Belle glanced at Apple Bloom and Scootaloo. From the sour look on their faces, it seemed as if they had come to some conclusion. Rarity, Sweetie Belle hissed, I thought you said that this was just a fun dinner. And it is, darling, Rarity said, batting her eyelashes innocently. It's simply that, well, we've been worried about you three. You haven't been keeping the, shall I say, safest company. Sweetie Belle stomped her hoof and opened her mouth to remind Rarity that honesty was one of the elements of friendship, but Twilight smoothly cut in. I'm glad you're all here. After speaking to Blue Moon, Illumination, and Auntie Eclipse, I'm a little concerned that they're involved in some dangerous magic. They may not have even realized it. But until I get some answers, I think it's best for every pony if we all give the Moon family some space. Despite the fact that moons are in space. I don't know how much more space you can get while you're in space. What do you mean? Apple Bloom asked. She means we don't want you, Philly, so hanging around with Amber Moon and Lily Moon anymore, or Nightmare Moon for that matter. Sorry, Shoot Cube, Applejack told her little sister. What about loyalty? Sweetie Belle burst out. And kindness. The older ponies looked at her in surprise. She glared at them. It's not very generous to turn your backs on our new friends. Oh no, do my element, Pinkie Pie said, bouncing in place. It's really hard to share laughter when you're not allowed to talk to some pony. Sweetie Belle shrugged. I understand, and you make a good point, Twilight told Sweetie Belle sincerely. But the elements I'm worried about is magic. And the way things have been going, I'm afraid being friends with Lily Moon and Amber Moon puts you at a greater risk. But that's not fair, Sweetie Belle protested. We're trying to protect you, Rainbow Dash asserted. Weird things keep happening, and we don't want them happening to you. We know what will happen next. Who knows what will happen next? Besides the writer. I think we're about to find out, Spike said dryly as a frantic Granny Smith raced into the dining room. It was horrible, Granny pointed. The worst thing I ever saw since the frost beetles ate 3 quarts of our orchard. Slow down, Granny. Take a deep breath now. What was horrible? Applejack putting a hoof on Granny's shoulder. She said as she did that. Quit jabbering and listen, Granny scowled, knocking Applejack's hoof away. I ain't a frail flower to be coddled and swaddled. I just tucked down for me neck, and it was nice and dark, and I said, favorite, Pilo, and once cousin Tart Peryton gave me from Hartsword knee. Granny closed her eyes, miming snugly into a pillow. After a few moments, Sweetie Belle wondered if Granny had really fallen asleep. She jumped when Granny's eyes flew open. That's when I saw it. A huge breeze. moving in the shadows, and it kept making the horrible ringing noises I hear, and I could feel all the way down my teeth. Granny took out her dentures and shook them to illustrate. "Ew," whispered Scootaloo. Granny, you don't suppose that it was just your alarm clock?" Applejack said, with a patience that made Sweetie Belle think they'd had this conversation before. "Of course. It was my alarm clock," Granny retorted, "alarming me to get out of there before that beastie took a bite of my apple." "Well, look into it, Granny," Twilight reassured her. "Applejack, why don't you take her home and make sure everything's safe for them on the farm?" Applejack nodded and hustled Granny to the door. "Humph! I know a shadow creature when I see one," Granny huffed as Applejack escorted her out. "You can tell because their eyes, like white fires, are burning in the sockets." Sweetie Belle frowned. That sounded familiar, like something she had once seen in a dream. "Plus they smell like corn custard." Granny's voice went out as she left. "We were making corn custard yesterday," Apple Bloom whispered to her friends. "The whole farmhouse smells like it now. I think Granny just had a nightmare." The older ponies turned back to the CMC. Sweetie Belle could tell that more lectures were on the menu before dinner. "Look, you know Twilight believes in giving ponies second chances," Starlight Glimmer said with a half smile that made Sweetie Belle realize the unicorn was talking about herself. "Just take a little break from Lily Moon and Amber Moon until we can figure out what's going on." Twilight?" Applejack walked back in with Granny. Sweetie Belle thought both ponies had a strange look on their faces. "You probably should see these." Twilight carelessly trotted over to the others following. Sweetie Belle peered over Rarity's shoulder to see outside the castle. A small group of ponies had formed, and they were yelling and hammering on the front door. A huge creature attacked them. "Something mysterious in Ponyville! Oh no! Oh no!" Chapter 5. They were never going to get dinner, Sweetie Belle realized. Twilight and her friends had been interviewing the distraught ponies to try to figure out what was going on in Ponyville, and it seemed as if each of them had a different story. Octavia Melody had complained that some creature had ruined her cello practice by insisting on playing handbells right outside her window. Bulk Bicep said a huge creature made of boxes tried to attack her, and Lotus Blossom reported that a shadow had chased her all the way across Ponyville. Sweetie Belle sighed. At least no pony could hear her stomach growling over Lyra and Bonbon's argument. "I'm telling you, it was a chimera," Lyra said. "I saw a goat hoof print in the garden." Bonbon rolled her eyes. "Chimeras also have lion paws. Or have you forgotten who's the monster expert here?" she said, raising an eyebrow. Twilight cleared her throat. "So you two think there was a creature in your yard, but neither of you actually saw it?" Twilight clarified. Spike feverishly scribbled on a scroll, but Sweetie Belle could see he had stopped, taking notes, and was now doodling what looked like a cartoon of her sister. "Yes," Lyra and Bonbon nodded. "We'll look into it," Twilight reassured them, as Starlight hustled the duo out of the room, bringing in muffins. "I was delivering a package, and a monster attacked me," Muffins blurted. "What kind of monster?" Twilight asked. Sweetie Belle leaned forward with interest. Muffins was the first pony in the group who had actually seen the creature. It was big and pony-shaped, all white, with short hair that sounds a little like bulk biceps, Twilight said. Starlight rolled her eyes, and Sweetie Belle had to smother a giggle. Oh no, couldn't have been him. He would have said hi, but when the monster attacked my mail cart of boxes, it went roar. Definitely bulk biceps, Rainbow Dash muttered to others in disgust. Guess that explains this creature made of boxes. Twilight thanked Muffins and told her they'd let her know when they found some answers. Honestly, Rarity said with a toss of her mane, every pony is so on edge lately. Strange footprints, interrupting handbells, please. I'm glad no pony saw a real monster, Fluttershy said. Yep, but that was one doozy of a waste of time, Applejack said. Wait, you mean you're not going to investigate any of the pony stories? Sweetie Belle asked. No point, Rainbow Dash said. There was obviously no real monster, just a bunch of scared ponies. Oh, no offense, she added, looking to Granny, who snorted. Y'all are just gonna act like nothing happened, Apple Bloom asked. We'll keep our eyes open once for anything strange, but what we need now is to sleep, Twilight said, stifling a yawn. The older ponies nodded and stared toward the door, but Sweetie Belle hung back with the other Cutie Mark Crusaders. Some of those stories sounded like they were worth checking out to me, Scootaloo said. Some of those stories sounded worth checking out to me, Scootaloo told her friends. Talk about it at school tomorrow. Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom nodded seriously. After everything that had happened lately, Sweetie Belle didn't wonder if a scary new creature had shown up in Ponyville. She wondered when. Chapter 6. Sweetie Belle squirmed anxiously in her seat. Today was the day Miss Shirley was going to cast the school play. This year, the class was doing a musical, and even more excitingly, they were performing in Canterlot in front of Princess Celestia. Who cares about Luna? The class fell silent as Miss Shirley unfurled the cast list. Sweetie Belle squeezed her eyes shut and held her breath. Please let me get the lead role. Please let me get the lead role. Please let me get the lead. Yep, Miss Shirley asked. Sweetie Belle peeked with one eye. You're the narrator, Diamond Hero. Surely Miss Shirley wouldn't cast her as the lead role, Sweetie Belle hoped. You'll play the Dragon Princess. Diamond Hero made a face. A dragon? At least I have a crown. And Sweetie Belle, Miss Shirley said, flipping pages of her notes. Sweetie Belle nearly bit her hoof in worry. You'll be the star! With a joyful cry, Sweetie Belle leaped out of her chair. Scootaloo and Apple Bloom jumped up too, grinning and dancing with her, but Miss Shirley wasn't done talking. If you can sing a solo for a whole class, right now. Of course, Sweetie Belle smiled. Music started to play from somewhere. Sweetie Belle confidently opened her mouth to begin the opening bars, and nothing came out. She cleared her throat and tried again. This time, she managed a small squeak. Sweetie Belle's eye darted nervously around the classroom. Snips and snails were snickering. Twist looked at her with pity. Diamond Tiara rolled her eyes to Silver Spoon. Apple Bloom and Scootaloo gaped. But still, Sweetie Belle couldn't force out a single note. She was sure her face was turning as bright red as Apple Bloom's hair. With a whimper, she rushed out of the woods to find herself in the shadowy woods. The sound of chimes echoed audibly in the weird landscape. Sweetie Belle looked around for their source, but all she could see was a large, deer-like creature stepping out of the shadows. Its body rippled like smoke, and massive wings lay folded against its back. The huge sweep of its antlers seemed almost graceful against the night sky, and then the creature turned its eyes to Sweetie Belle. Twin white flames bored into her. She felt as if the creature could see deep into her heart, as if it could read her mind. And then a feeling of pain, sharp and burning, seemed to engulf Sweetie Belle. She screamed and woke up in her bedroom, once more on the floor. Sweetie Belle panted for a moment, shaking off the terror of the nightmare. She winced as she sat up. She had to stop having these nightmares, or she'd be covered in bruises. But as Sweetie Belle climbed back into bed, resigning herself to another sleepless night, she wondered, had this pain she had felt been hers, or the creature's? Chapter 7. The next day, at the schoolyard, Sweetie Belle was exhausted. She was surprised to find that Apple Bloom and Scootaloo weren't very energetic either. "I was up late reading the newest Daring Do book," Scootaloo mumbled, "and our chickens were making such a racket, I didn't get a wink of sleep," Apple Bloom complained. Miss Shirley opened the door to the schoolhouse and cheerfully beckoned to the ponies inside. "I have a big surprise for you today, class. We're going to have auditions for our class play." "Hope it's not a musical," Scootaloo muttered. Sweetie Belle gaped. What did you say?" she asked. "Oh, it's just a silly dream I had," Scootaloo said, waving a hoof as if it were nothing. "I had a dream about us doing a class musical, too," Apple Bloom blurted out. "So did I," squeaked Sweetie Belle. "And I got the lead role, but I couldn't sing." "Did you run outside of the school and into the weird, dark forest place?" Scootaloo asked. "And see this super strange creature made of, like, shadow with wings and horns?" Apple Bloom added in a rush. Sweetie Belle nodded. "And did it have burning white eyes?" All three Kitty Mark Crusaders yelled at the same time. Their classmates shot them some frowns and odd looks. "We must have all had the same dream," Apple Bloom said in amazement. "You mean nightmare," Scootaloo corrected. "I didn't want to tell you all about it because I was afraid you all would come and call me a scary pony again," Sweetie Belle admitted. Sweetie Belle Scootaloo raised her right hoof in an earnest pledge. "We'll never call you that again. Promise." Apple Bloom nodded. "Hey, I wondered if we're all the only ponies who dreamed the same thing," Apple Bloom said. "We should ask Lily Moon and Amber Moon if they did, too. I mean, since it's about freaky creatures and all." "We'd better ask at recess," Sweetie Belle said, pointing. The rest of the class had already gone inside the schoolhouse. They were late. It seemed to take moons until recess. When it finally came, the Crusaders practically pounced on Lily Moon with their questions. "Did you have a nightmare last night?" Apple Bloom demanded. "With a creature with antlers and wings and glowing eyes?" "No," Lily Moon said, narrowing her eyes. Amber Moon had never had nightmares. Auntie put sleep charms on our pillows to keep dreams away. All dreams? Sweetie Belle asked, in surprise. She could understand not wanting nightmares, but she wasn't sure it was worth giving up good dreams. Yeah, Lily Moon nodded, but tell me more about this creature. Was it all shadowy? And did it make noises when it walked? Yes, Scootaloo agreed. It sounded like it was ringing a bell, Apple Bloom said at the same time. That's a Peryton, Lily Moon frowned. I've met some before, in fact. That's when I got my cutie mark. What does it mean when you get them in your dreams? Sweetie Belle asked. Her stomach did a little flip-flop when she saw the worried look on Lily Moon's face. I'm not sure, Lily Moon admitted, but when you see them in the real world, they are a warning. About what? Scootaloo asked. Lily Moon shrugged. The best way to find out is to ask one. Chapter 8. This was a bad idea, Sweetie Belle thought, for probably the 100th time. She stood in the darkness of the Everfree Forest, scattering magic herbs with the other crusaders, while Amber Moon and Lily Moon prepared the rest of their Peryton summoning spell. The moon was the thinnest sliver of a half-shaven tonight, and the air was still, almost as if the trees were holding their breaths, Sweetie Belle thought. As Amber Moon finished painting silvery glowing triangles on the leafy ground, Sweetie Belle squinted to look closer. At the center of the biggest triangle was a cupcake. Is that part of the spell? Sweetie Belle asked. Not exactly, Amber Moon frowned. We don't have all the ingredients Auntie Eclipse's spell book says. We need to call Peryton. Why didn't you just ask Auntie Eclipse for them? Scootaloo shrugged. We kinda didn't ask permission to borrow her book, Lily Moon admitted. The book says we need fresh gooseberries to call Peryton. So we're using a goose feather and a strawberry cupcake. Sweetie Belle worried deep. If she knew one thing about spells, it was that even the thinnest change could have a huge effect on the outcome. Now we need to summon the Peryton with an ancient earth pony dance of memory. Amber Moon said, using the glow of her horn to read from the ancient spell book. The others waited for her to go on, but she didn't. Finally, Scootaloo prompted her. So how do we do that? It's not in the book. I was hoping Apple Bloom would know what it is, Amber Moon admitted. Just 'cause I'm an earth pony doesn't mean I know every kind of dance in our history, Apple Bloom said, miffed. Look, do you want to summon this Peryton or not? Amber Moon said irritably. Not Sweetie Belle thought. Maybe the Peryton nightmare didn't mean anything. And maybe it was a coincidence that all three CMC had dreamed the same thing. But even as she thought it, Sweetie Belle knew that was wrong. Too many other things she had heard were starting to remind her of her dream. Like Octavia hearing bells while she was practicing, and Lyra noticing hoof prints in the garden, and Granny Smith seeing a creature with wide eyes. With a sigh, Sweetie Belle began leaping and twirling. The others gaped at her. Come on, just dance. It's better than nothing, right? She said with a shrug. The others joined in, except Amber Moon. I don't dance. Besides, some pony has to invoke the spell, Amber Moon shrugged, and with that, her glowing horn went dark. Sweetie Belle gasped and stumbled. The forest was now dark. She couldn't see anything, which was the point she guessed. Peryton, watcher, guide, guardian and shadow hide, come to us with answers true. Heed our call, we summon you. Amber Moon's voice rang out across the silent forest. Nothing happened. As the moments stretched on, Sweetie Belle was about to make a joke about the cupcake being a very bad substitute, and then she saw it. 2 white lights flickered deep in the woods, and they were getting nearer. In Peryton's eyes, she breathed. The others turned as the bell-like chimes of the hooves grew nearer. Its shadowy body glowed silver in the darkness, a blend of proud stag and a powerful eagle. It was beautiful, actually, Sweetie Belle thought, surprised she hadn't noticed before. The moment was broken when Lily Moon stepped forward into the creature's path. Peryton, why have you been haunting my friend's dreams? Why are you here in Ponyville? Do you bring us a message? The Peryton didn't answer. Instead, it opened its massive wings and flapped them, blowing Lily Moon's mane into her eyes. Then, with a roar, it began to buck and shake its antlers. Amber Moon shouldered Lily Moon out of the way. A moment before, the Peryton's sharp, flying hooves landed where the unicorn had been standing. What's happening? Apple Bloom said, quiver in her voice. Why isn't it listening to you, Lily Moon? Amber Moon demanded. I don't know, Lily Moon said helplessly. But you're cutie mark. It's about supernatural creatures, right? Apple Bloom continued. Lily Moon stared helplessly at the Peryton. Maybe we should get out of here, Skulu suggested, because she's a chicken. Sweetie Belle agreed. But there was something about the Peryton that made her feel sorry for it. She didn't think it wanted to hurt them. Instead, it seemed as if it was hurting or scared. She knew that what it felt and how it felt, and before she knew it, she was singing the rose song under her breath. The Peryton head snapped up to look at Sweetie Belle. What is it doing now? Apple Bloom hissed to Lily Moon. It's listening to Sweetie Belle, Lily Moon said. Shocked, Sweetie Belle went quiet. The Peryton tossed its head in agitation, rearing on its taloned hind legs. Keep singing, Ambrosia hissed. So Sweetie Belle did, pouring all the love and reassurance into her song that Rarity always did when she sang it for her sister. A rose has thorns to keep it safe, but ponies have not one. A wild rose blooms where it is placed, but ponies seek the sun. As Sweetie Belle sang, a peace came over the Peryton. It slowly sank to its knees, resting. Encouraged, she continued. A rose is sweet and beautiful, its scent is lush and rare, but a pony's love is greater yet, and nothing can compare. So if I had to choose between a rose and a pony friend, I'd throw away the flower quick and keep you till the end. Sweetie Belle smiled as the Peryton bowed its head to her. It seemed as if the creature was thanking her. Scootaloo, are you out here? Rainbow Dash's voice rang out through the forest. Sweetie Belle, darling, Rarity's panicked call came a moment later. Apple Bloom, you get your hooves home right. high-strung Peryton, the creature leaped to its feet and bounded away into the forest, leaving only the Black Knight behind. "It's our sisters! We gotta hide," Apple Bloom whispered to Lily Moon and Amber Moon. "We're not supposed to be hanging out with you." "Good to know," Amber Moon said dryly, as the 5 young fillies huddled in hiding. Sweetie Belle couldn't help wondering about Lily Moon's cutie mark. It wasn't helpful when it came to Peryton, but how could that be? It seemed Apple Bloom was thinking the same thing. "Lily Moon, I don't mean to pry or anything, but are you sure your cutie mark is for communication with creatures like Peryton?" "That's when I got it," Lily Moon said defensively. "I was helping my family study Perytons. Then it just showed up. What else could it be for?" But the Crusaders had spent more time thinking about cutie marks than any pony, and Lily Moon's story didn't quite ring true. So Sweetie Belle, she was sure they weren't getting the whole truth, and she wondered what Lily Moon was hiding. Chapter 9. None of the Crusaders were anxious to go home. They were in a heap of trouble for sneaking out, and with so many unanswered questions, they needed a place where they could work on getting answers far away from any lecturing sisters. Their homes were no good, and Applejack, Rarity, and Rainbow Dash were sure to check the clubhouse. So finally, the friends settled on going to the Moon family greenhouse. Sweetie Belle couldn't help but notice how upset Lily Moon looked as they crept up Horseshoe Hill. "It's all my fault," Sweetie Belle thought, until she stepped in. Lily Moon had thought she could control the Peryton. Sweetie Belle had made a pony doubt her cutie mark, the exact opposite of what a good cutie mark crusader should do. Amber Moon carefully opened the greenhouse door so it wouldn't make any noise. They sneaked inside and headed toward the back of the canvas glass building. Sweetie Belle saw Scootaloo carefully avoid a potted plant and assumed that must be the fear fern she had accidentally bumped into before. "Nobody touch that thing," Scootaloo whispered, confirming Sweetie Belle's suspicions. "Nobody touch anything," Amber Moon added. "The fear fern isn't the only plant in here that could cause trouble." "Seems like y'all got a lot of stuff that causes trouble," Apple Bloom observed. "What's that supposed to mean?" Lily Moon asked defensively. "Well," Apple Bloom shrugged to find the right words. Scootaloo, however, had no such issue. "What's the deal with your family?" she blurted out. "The strange potions, the ancient books, the creepy plants, the uncooked pasta, your crazy aunt, and the way your dad smiles funny and your mom glares at every pony she sees." The sisters both looked shocked, then hurt. But Amber Moon's expression quickly became cold and unreadable. "Thought you wanted to talk about the Peryton, not attack our family," Amber Moon said quietly. "If we're so upsetting, maybe you should go home." "Now hold on," Apple Bloom said firmly. "It ain't like that. We're your friends. But you gotta admit things have been pretty crazy in Ponyville since y'all moved here. We just have some questions, y'all." "What kind of questions?" Lily Moon asked. The Crusaders all glanced at one another. Where to begin? "Well," Sweetie Belle spoke up, "what about the candy cane?" "What are you talking about?" Amber Moon looked lost. Sweetie Belle sighed. There was no turning back now. Lily Moon took a candy cane from your room. She brought it to the schoolhouse, and Twist ate it. That's why he turned into a timber wolf. Sweetie Belle watched the sister process the information. They both looked completely baffled. But why didn't you say anything? Lily Moon asked as she worked things through her head. She looked at them accusingly. You thought that we made Twist a Timberwolf on purpose? Well, at that point, we thought that Amber Moon did. Skulu corrected her. Amber Moon's eyes widened. That was before you helped with the fear of Fern, Skulu added quickly. Still, candy cane that curses the pony who eats it? That's something most ponies don't have lying around, Apple Bloom glanced at the multitude of plants surrounding them. Same goes for a greenhouse full of plants that do Celestia knows what. And then there's everything that just happened, Skulu added. You said you got your cutie mark when you were studying Perytons, but tonight, I already told you, I don't know what went wrong. Lily Moon bursted, on the verge of tears. I thought it was something to do with supernatural creatures, but now you probably think I'm lying about that too. Lily Moon hid her face so no pony could see her crying. Amber Moon rushed over to comfort her sister. She glared at the Crusaders. Is this how friendship works? Accusing us of being what? Evil? Sweetie Belle felt terrible. She could tell Apple Bloom and Skulu did too. Yes, something strange was going on in Ponyville. But Lily Moon and Amber Moon had been by their side through all of it. They had more than proven themselves, hadn't they? Why ask us? We want to figure it out with you, Apple Bloom tried to explain. That's what friends do. Perhaps we don't need your kind of friendship here, a crisp voice called from the front of the greenhouse. The ponies turned to see Lily Moon, Amber Moon's mother, Illumination, striding towards them. After the way the Princess of Friendship and her associates treated us, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that their younger counterparts are the same. You've all been bad influences from the start. Now wait just a minute, Skulu began, but Luma cut her off. No, you wait. The unicorn got angrier as she spoke. From the moment you three barged into this house, you've been causing trouble. You dare put the blame on us. You force us to answer to a princess for things that you have done. Us? Apple Bloom was as angry as Luma. All we've been doing is trying to help your daughters by accusing us of some kind of evil plot. Parroting us around town as malicious when it was you three who couldn't keep your hooves to yourselves. Well, my family has had quite enough of your help. You can see yourselves out. Luma turned and strode out the greenhouse. Girls, she called without looking. Amber Moon and Lily Moon looked from their friend's back to their mother. Then they turned and glumly followed her after her. Come on, Apple Bloom stormed out of the greenhouse. Skulu and Sweetie Belle hurried after her. As they stepped into the cool night air, Sweetie Belle saw Blue Moon standing in the yard, grinning. Y'all have a pleasant evening now, he said, through his too forced-to-be-real smile. Sweetie Belle huddled a little closer to her friends. She believed Lily Moon and Amber Moon when they said they didn't know what was going on, but she sure didn't feel the same way about their parents. Chapter 10. Sweetie Belle stared at the floor of Rarity's boutique. She was pretty certain Rarity hadn't stopped to take a breath since she had caught her sneaking in. Scootaloo and Applebloom were probably hearing the same from Annie Lofty and Applejack. I simply cannot believe you, Sweetie Belle. I have been up all night, running myself ragged through the woods. I must look simply atrocious. It went on like that for a long time. Rarity was furious they had sneaked out, practically because they had done exactly what Twilight and the others had told them not to. Sweetie Belle tried to explain about Peryton, but after all the differing accounts from the rest of Ponyville, Rarity didn't want to hear it. She was so angry that she sent Sweetie Belle directly to bed and said they would discuss her punishment in the morning. As Sweetie Belle's mind buzzed with thoughts of Peryton, the fight at Horseshoe Hill, and Rarity's lecture, it seemed as if she had never fallen asleep. But finally, her mind began to drift. In 1 second, she was going over the conversation with Lily Moon and Amber Moon, trying to think what they could have said differently. And next, she was pushing through a crowd of ponies, trying to get to the front of the stage. Songbird Serenade was about to perform. 2 large ponies blocked her view. "Excuse me," she called out. "I'm trying to see the stage." The ponies turned to look down at her. It was illumination and blue moon. But instead of eyes, they stared at her with giant pools of shining white light. Sweetie Belle backed away from her and fell with a splash into the raging river. All she heard was the rush of water and the tinkling of bells. Bells? Sweetie Belle looked up and saw a dark creature made of clouds galloping across the sky, blackening the world in shadow. Instead of rain, hundreds of bells fell from the clouds, ringing all around her. She reached out and grabbed a large one as it splashed into the water, and she was suddenly standing alone in the Ponyville schoolhouse. "I get it," she said aloud. "It's a dream. The schoolhouse looked as if nobody had been there in a dozen moons." Cobwebs stretched across the ceiling, and a thick layer of dust coated every surface. The sounds of bells echoed nearby. Sweetie Belle followed the sound out the front door. The Peryton stood in the center of the playground. "What should I do?" Sweetie Belle called out. The Peryton cocked its head to the side, unsure what that meant. Sweetie Belle mimicked it, cocking her head as well. The Peryton trotted in place, and the bells tinkled lightly. Sweetie Belle realized that Peryton was laughing at her. "Okay, fine, Smarty Hoof. What do you want from me? What do you want to do?" The Peryton cocked its head again, more dramatically this time. Sweetie Belle gazed forward and followed in the direction of the Peryton's head to her right, where a large bell stood next to her. "Ah, I got it!" Her horn lit up. As she used magic to pull the rope back and forth, the bell chimed with a deep and powerful chiming sound. When she looked back towards the playground, the Peryton was gone. Instead, Scootaloo and Applebloom were there. "That was a heck of a loud bell," Applebloom said, trotting up to the step of the schoolhouse. Apparently, the bell had called her friends to her. Why is the school pony gross? Why is the schoolhouse gross? Scootaloo asked, wiping off dust of from her hoof. "This is a dream version, I think," Sweetie Belle explained. She thought for a minute. "Are you real Scootaloo and Applebloom, or just dream Scootaloo and Applebloom?" The Crusaders considered that. Scootaloo leapt into the air, flapping her wings. She quickly dropped and landed in a cloud of dust. Must be real me, she sounded annoyed. Dream me can fly. Well, it's a good thing we can see one another in our sleep, Appleblossom said with a sigh. 'Cause according to Applejack, I ain't leaving my room till I'm as old as Granny Smith. Why are we here? Scootaloo asked. I mean, who wants to hang out at school in their dreams? It seemed appropriate as I have much to teach you this night. A deep voice said from inside. The Crusaders turned. Princess Luna stood in the doorway. I'm glad you have finally arrived. Please come inside. Chapter 11. Princess Luna! Sweetie Belle was relieved to see her. Where have you been? I've been having super crazy dreams. I was looking for you. It has been difficult for me to reach you as of late. There are powerful magical forces in Ponyville. They are affecting the dream realm as well. The Crusaders looked at one another as they followed Luna into the schoolhouse. If she was worried about what was going on in Ponyville, that meant things were worse than they had thought. An old friend helped by, leading the three of you here. Luna stood in front of the classroom in Miss Shirley's usual spot. Please have a seat. Do we have to? Scootaloo said, blowing a few inches of the dust off a desk. Ah, follow me, Luna. A horn flashed brightly. Ah, follow me, Luna's horn flashed brightly. So brightly that the Crusaders had to close their eyes. When Sweetie Belle opened hers, the schoolhouse was transformed. They stood in a cavernous room. In front of them were 3 desks carved from crystal, with ornate golden swirls and flourishes etched into the sides. The seats were stuffed with soft, inviting pillows. The blackboard behind Luna stretched into forever. Oversized windows lined either side of the schoolhouse. Comets and planets floated by outside. Now, this is a classroom, Appleblossom whistled excitedly. Sweetie Belle made herself comfortable at one of the desks. In the past, when Luna had shown up in the dreams, things hadn't been this formal. Sweetie Belle was anxious to find out what was going on. She was also nervous. It would be another lecture on... Is this about Lily Moon and Amber Moon? Scootaloo asked. Apparently, Sweetie Belle wasn't the only one thinking it. Yes and no. It is probably best to start at the beginning. The blackboard behind Luna came to life. Chalk images appeared as if they were being drawn by some invisible force. As each drawing was completed, it began to move on its own. Sweetie Belle watched in awe as the scene animated in front of them. She recognized Princess Celestia, raising the sun. Tiny ponies at the edge of the blackboard cheered as the chalk sun rose up into the sky. And then behind her, Princess Luna appeared. She looked angry. Oh, I know what happened, Scootaloo announced excitedly. This is when you got jealous and you, She trailed off, not wanting to finish her thought. It is all right, Scootaloo. I have made peace with my past. Luna's voice was tinged with sadness. This is indeed when I became Nightmare Moon, as every pony knows. However, nobody knows how I became Nightmare Moon. Sweetie Belle yelped in fright as their desks suddenly flew forward. The blackboard wrapped around Luna and the Crusaders. Chalk drawings surrounded them. becoming more detailed, more alive, as if they had been pulled into the past. Sweetie Belle watched, wide-eyed, as Luna from the past raised the moon. She looked both angry and sad. Once the moon was high in the sky, the night sky, she flew into the air and disappeared. The scene around them erased, and a new one appeared. Luna flying through a world of sleeping ponies. As Princess of the Night, I was responsible for the realms of dreams, Luna explained. It is a realm ruled by emotions. Fear, hope, love, jealousy, anger. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the dream. As the ponies dreamed, little bubbles of energy floated around them in different colors. Sweetie Belle assumed the different colors were different emotions. When Luna flew past them, some colors trailed after her. Bright reds, deep purples, and jet blacks. I did not realize that my feelings about my sister were pulling at the emotions of ponies, dreams. But in my jealousy and anger, I drew more and more energy from the sleeping ponies I was meant to protect. The colors flowed around Luna, slowly changing her. She became meaner, darker, angrier. The colors flowed together and started to take shape. Sweetie Belle squinted, not sure what it was. The form was roundish at the top, with sharp edges at the bottom. Even though she knew it was just a drawing, the shape radiated an energy that made her tremble with fear. It's a helmet, Apple whispered. Sweetie Belle realized she was right. The helmet floated onto Luna's head, and the transformation was complete. The Crusaders watched as Nightmare Moon was born. Chapter 12. The Helm of Shadows. Princess Luna watched sadly as the chalk Nightmare Moon threw back her head and laughed maniacally. So that's what made you Nightmare Moon? Sweetie Belle asked. Not exactly. The helm was formed from my emotions. By using the power of dreams to build it, I made it myself. I made myself Nightmare Moon. The scene around them faded to darkness. You all know the tale. Banished by my sister to the moon until I returned on the longest day of the 1000th year to bring about nighttime eternity. You also know who prevented that from happening. As she spoke, the scene shifted to the ruins of Castle of the Two Sisters, along with drawings of ponies the Crusaders knew quite well. Rarity and her friends, Sweetie Belle cheered. Apple Bloom's eyes widened. They looked so young. As they watched, the elements of harmony appeared by each of the ponies, and a wave of rainbow magic shot into the air, surrounding Nightmare Moon. When the magic faded, Nightmare Moon was no more, and Princess Luna had returned. Wow, Sweetie Belle said as the chalk ponies celebrated. You've all heard the story, but seeing it, our sisters do it, it's awesome, Scootaloo agreed. It was a moment each of the Crusaders had grown up hearing about. Look, Apple Bloom pointed. Something off the corner was pulsating with magical energy. Sweetie Belle followed Apple Bloom's gaze. The Helm of Shadows? She squawked. The helm sat off to the side, unnoticed by the celebrating ponies. Yes. Although your sisters and their friends freed me of my curse, the magic, the helm was too powerful to be destroyed. As they continued watching, the sun and moon flew through the sky several times. Eventually, the chalk versions of Celestia and Luna returned. My sister and I were at a loss for what to do. The helm was dangerous. Any pony who came into contact with it could be corrupted by its power. Sweetie Belle watched as Celestia and Luna carefully lifted the helm. We couldn't risk hiding the helm in Canterlot or any other large city. there would be too many ponies that the helm's dark magic could call to. So we decided to build a prison far from where any pony could dare to roam. The Everfree Forest, Apple Bloom whispered. Luna nodded. As they continued to watch, magic swirled around the chalk sisters. An opening appeared in the ground. The helm flew into the opening and plummeted from what seemed like forever. We buried the helm deep into the ground, in a prison of our own design. Trees sprouted up around the cabin, their branches moving like serpents, slowly wrapping around one another. We built a wall of living forest to keep ponies out. The live wood, and from the living wood we created creatures to guard the forest. Sweetie Belle shuddered as wood splintered off the tree and reformed into hulking shapes. She was all too familiar with timber wolves. They howled at the night sky as they circled the cavern that held the helm. But before Sweetie Belle got too nervous, a familiar shadowy creature flew through the sky, wrapping itself around the living live wood, trapping most of the timber wolves inside a blanket of shadow. Sweetie Belle heard the faint tinkling of bells. The Peryton, she exclaimed. Yes, the Peryton, Luna smiled. I summon a creature of shadow to keep watch over the prison and alert me if anything ever threatens to breach its defenses. Luna turned to look at the Crusaders. When the Peryton called to me, I knew it was time to reach out to the three of you. The Crusaders looked at her and one another. Well, why us? Skulu asked. Luna turned back at the scene in front of them, watching as the Peryton retreated its head and stomped its hooves and talons. It leapt into the air and flew into the live wood. Sweetie Belle was so intense she could barely breathe. After a few moments, the Peryton burst from the live wood and slammed its antlers into the ground in response. Shadowy antler vines sprouted in three distant spots. Roots, rocks, and dirt grew from the ground as if the antlers were pulling from them to the earth. They formed together until three matching pillars stood next to one another. Each pillar loomed about 8 feet tall and had steps twisting around it in the form of the bottom to the top. That is why, Luna explained. For reasons I do not know, the Peryton decided to create one final lock that even my sister and I could not open. After much study, we came to believe that the only way to enter the live wood would be to find 3 ponies with matching cutie marks. It was the perfect way to keep ponies away from the Helm of Shadows forever, because there have never been 3 ponies with matching cutie marks in all of Equestria's history. Luna turned to look at the cutie mark Crusaders. Each of their cutie marks glowed brightly until you came along, which is why we must protect the live wood. Chapter 13. I shall be waiting for you right here when school lets out, so don't even think about going anywhere. If anything, Rarity was even more upset this morning. She had insisted on walking Sweetie Belle to school and walking her home afterwards, but Sweetie Belle was barely paying attention to her sister. She was so preoccupied thinking about everything she had learned last night. Was the Helm of Shadows really buried deep in the Everfree Forest behind a wall of living trees? And then there was that stuff about the matching cutie marks and protecting the live wood. Did that mean that she was going to have to go into the live wood? Sweetie Belle had no desire to go near that place. I just can't believe it, y'all. Applejack's voice pulled Sweetie Belle's thoughts back into the present. Apple Bloom and Scootaloo were trotting toward the schoolhouse. Applejack and Rainbow Dash followed, sharing their versions of the lecture Rarity was giving Sweetie Belle. And I told Auntie Lofty and Aunt Holiday I'd walk you home, so no funny stuff. Rainbow Dash finished as they reached the school. Apparently all the Crusaders were under house arrest for the foreseeable future. As soon as they were alone, Sweetie Belle turned to the others. So, last night, Princess Luna? Apple Bloom asked. The others nodded. Helma Shadows, Scootaloo shuddered. More nods. Did either of you say anything to any pony else? Sweetie Belle asked. Scootaloo and Apple Bloom shook their heads. I wanted to make sure we all really did have the same dream first. Apple Bloom glanced around the room. Have you all seen Lily Moon? Sweetie Belle looked around. It didn't seem as if she had arrived yet. Apple Bloom spoke quietly. You know, we've heard about the Livewood before. What, we have? Sweetie Belle asked. She couldn't remember that. Apple Bloom nodded. Back when we were first following Lily Moon home, her dad said something about trying to break into the Livewood. Oh yeah, Scootaloo scrunched up her face as if she tried to recall the details, and remembering how interested they were in our cutie marks, Sweetie Belle's jaw dropped as she realized something. They have matching cutie marks too. She looked at the others, wide-eyed. You mean we have to protect the Livewood from Lily Moon and Amber Moon's parents? Scootaloo groaned. Great. But if they have matching cutie marks, why haven't they already unlocked it? Apple Bloom wondered. Scootaloo's wings fluttered nervously. Does that mean Lily Moon and Amber Moon are bad guys now? She asked. They all stared at one another. Then Apple Bloom shook her head. Whatever their parents are up to, I can't believe Lily Moon and Amber Moon are on it, as she said. Me neither, Scootaloo sighed. But we should tell them what Luna said. How do you let some pony know her family is messing with dark magic? Sweetie Belle wasn't sure if they should share the dream or not. Luna had told the Crusaders to protect the Livewood. But what if they just ended up making things worse? Suddenly, Sweetie Belle saw the slightest movement in the shadows, accompanied by the softest chime of a bell. The Peryton, Sweetie Belle whispered. The other two looked at her. What about it? Apple Bloom asked. The Peryton was there when Luna and Celestia buried the Helm of Shadows. Sweetie Belle said, working it out. If it made the pillars to unlock the Livewood, and Lily Moon was studying Perytons, that's when she got her cutie mark. Our Peryton showed up in Ponyville after Lily Moon's family moved here. I think it's the key to figuring out all of this. It makes sense, Scootaloo nodded. But how can we find it? We're grounded for life. Sweetie Belle wished she could explain everything to her sister and let Rarity and her friends handle things. But with everything that had happened in the last couple of days, Sweetie Belle knew her sister wasn't in any mood to listen. They had to do this themselves. We're going to sneak off after school, find that Peryton, and figure out what's really going on, she announced. Her friends stared at Sweetie Belle in shock. You sure? Apple Bloom asked. Not even a little bit? Sweetie Belle admitted. But what about the other choices do we have? You'll realize that if we don't get any answers out here, we're in, the most trouble of our lives, right? Scootaloo pushed Vines out of her way as the Crusaders traveled rather far into the Everfree Forest. When classes had been dismissed, Sweetie Belle and others had hung back until Miss Shirley walked out to the front steps to see the class off. Then the trio had crawled out the side window. Not the most graceful as far as an escape plan went, but it was done, and the job was done. Sweetie Belle was sure they had good answers, but she wasn't as convinced that they'd like them. For example, why hadn't Lily Moon been at school today? She hoped nothing bad had happened to her friend. I got a better question, Apple Bloom said. How are we supposed to find the Peryton? Anybody remember what we're supposed to say? Sweetie Belle had been thinking about that. They didn't have Anti-Eclipse's spellbook, or cupcakes, or any other things from the night before, but Sweetie Belle wasn't sure they needed them. I think we just have to find a place that's dark and quiet, Sweetie Belle said. She took in her surroundings. The tree blocked most of the late afternoon sun. Like somewhere over. Apple Bloom covered Sweetie Belle's mouth and made a sushing noise. Sweetie Belle listened. She could hear ponies nearby whispering, but after she could even think about what to do next, Scootaloo threw herself on the ground. You found a Scootaloo whale. Sorry, Rainbow Dash. Please don't tell Auntie Lofty and Auntie Holiday I don't want to be grounded forever. Lily Moon and Amber Moon stuck their heads out from behind a large oak tree and stared at Scootaloo. What are you wailing about? Asked Amber Moon. Scootaloo jumped up and dusted herself off. Nothing, she said quickly. I knew it was you. The sisters joined the Crusaders. They were both wearing packs. No pony said anything for a few seconds. Sweetie Belle could feel the tension in the air. We were worried when we didn't see you at school today, Apple Bloom said. Lily Moon glanced at her sister. Amber Moon nodded. Mother made us stay home, Lily Moon explained. She wants us to take me out of school for good. She told us we weren't allowed to leave the house, Amber Moon added grimly. So, what are you doing out here? Scootaloo asked. Listen, you accused our family of a lot of things last night, Amber Moon began. Because Apple Bloom tried to cut in, but Amber Moon held up a hoof to stop her. But you're our friends, the first friends we've had in a long time. Lily Moon and I think maybe you were right to question the things that have been going on. So when our parents left for the market, we went out to get some answers. Lily Moon used her magic to pull Auntie Eclipse's spellbook out of her pack. We thought we would start by finding the Peryton, Sweetie Belle finished. Same here. We sneaked off after school. We're grounded too. Well then, Amber Moon muttered, let's get moving. She began lifting supplies out of her pack. Lily Moon opened the spellbook. Apple Bloom looked at Sweetie Belle and nodded as if to say, Speak up. Sweetie Belle cleared her throat. I don't think any of this is necessary, she said. The sisters stopped what they were doing. Lily Moon glanced at her cutie mark and sighed. I was hoping finding the Peryton again would help me understand my cutie mark, but you obviously have more of a connection with it. Tell us what to do. Every pony turned to Sweetie Belle expectantly. She wasn't sure her idea would work, but there was only one way to find out. Sweetie Belle closed her eyes. A rose has thorns to keep it safe, she whispered. The ponies have none. The forest seemed to grow quieter around her. A wild rose blooms where it's placed. The ponies seek the sun. She could hear the faintest tinkling of bells. A rose is sweet and beautiful. Its scent is lush and rare. But a pony's love is greater yet, and nothing can compare. The bells grew louder. So if I had to choose between a rose and a pony friend, I'd throw away the flower quick and keep you till the end. Sweetie Belle looked up to see the Peryton's glowing white eyes staring at her. He glanced at the others and pawed the ground nervously. "Wow," Scootaloo whispered. "Hey, Smarty Hoof," Sweetie Belle said, grinning. "We were hoping you could help us get some answers." The Peryton turned and studied Lily Moon and Amber Moon, unsure. Suddenly, it leapt into the air and flew deeper into the ever-free forest. It landed a short distance away and turned back to the fillies. The bells chimed impatiently. Sweetie Belle looked at the others. "I guess we're going that way." Chapter 15. The Peryton led them deeper into the ever-free forest, always stopping to make sure they were following. It was hard to distinguish the creature from the shadows, so Sweetie Belle relied on the constant chiming of bells to lead her through the dark forest. She realized she could barely see the other trotting next to her. She glanced up and was shocked to see the stars in the sky. How long had they been walking? She was certain none of them had ever gone this deep into the ever-free forest before. Doubt began to gnaw at her. "Hey, you, okay?" Lily Moon asked, trotting next to her. "Yeah, I'm just a little nervous," Sweetie Belle admitted. "Why? We're just lost in a spooky forest, following a creature made of shadows, with no idea where we're going," Lily Moon said, grinning. "Probably the live wood," Scootaloo said. Amber Moon and Lily Moon both stopped mid-trot and looked at one another with an odd expression. What do you know about the live wood?" Amber Moon asked, her expression unreadable. Scootaloo looked at Sweetie Belle. Sweetie Belle wasn't sure what they should or shouldn't say. Fortunately, Apple Bloom saved them by calling out from up ahead. "Hey, y'all, I see some kind of light. Glad for a change in subject." Scootaloo rushed to join Apple Bloom, but Sweetie Belle watched Amber Moon and Lily Moon out of the corner of her eye. They were looking at each other with concern as they all approached the light. Sweetie Belle squinted. It was bright, like middle of the day bright. Blinded, Sweetie Belle bumped into Apple Bloom. As her eyes slowly adjusted, she could see they were standing at the edge of a clearing. But she suddenly realized she couldn't hear any bells. Where's the Peryton?" she asked. When no pony responded, she turned to look at the others. They were all staring ahead, eyes wide. Sweetie Belle turned to see what was in front of her. She gasped. It was exactly like Luna had shown them, but creepier. Sweetie Belle could see the 3 antler-grown pillars in front of them, and beyond that, the live wood. Lily Moon whispered. The branches and vines moved in a serpentine fashion, twisting and sliding around one another. Behind them, the glowing green eyes of the Timberwolves watched the ponies intently. The Peryton was nowhere to be seen. Sweetie Belle had no idea what to do next. "Amber Moon, Lily Moon, what are you doing here?" Sweetie Belle turned in surprise to see Lily Moon and Amber Moon's parents. Illumination wore a shocked expression, and Blue Moon well. He was still grinning. They stood next to an enormous flower, its large spotted petals facing the live wood. The blinding bright light seemed to be radiating from the flower's center. "What are you doing here?" Amber Moon shot back. "She said you were going to the market." "I also said not to leave the house and to stay away from those 3, Luna screamed. "Answer her question, Mother," Luna demanded. Lily Moon demanded. What are you doing here? Just an experiment, dear, Blue Moon responded calmly. Nothing to worry your young fillies. The sudden sound of splintering wood seemed to contradict Blue Moon's sedate reply. Sweetie Belle yelped as one of the timberwolves hurled itself against the snaking vines of the live wood, trying to reach them. The rage on Blue Moon's face shifted to concern. They aren't supposed to be able to get out of there, right? Apple Bloom asked nervously. I don't want to find out, Sweetie Belle squeaked. Our work here can't wait. I should get you girls home, Luna said hastily, herding her daughter toward the forest. Come along, fillies. Your father will see you to your friends. What should we do? Scootaloo whispered as Amber Moon and Lily Moon disappeared into the darkness of the trees. I don't want to stay here. I don't trust him, Apple Bloom replied. At least we know he's not going to eat us, Sweetie Belle hissed. Good point, let's go, Apple Bloom said with a nod. Blue Moon stood there, grinning. He turned toward the forest. Sweetie Belle took a step to follow him, but something stopped her. She couldn't move her hooves. Sweetie Belle glanced at Apple Bloom and Scootaloo in a panic. They were stuck. You three have a pleasant evening now, Blue Moon smiled as he disappeared into the shadows of the forest. Sweetie Belle struggled to get free, but nothing happened. Magic held the Crusaders in place. The Timberwolves yelped in a frenzy, and she heard more wood crackling. How could the live wood have kept them trapped for so long, only to break when the Crusaders were stuck outside? Sweetie Belle heard a dry, raspy chuckle. Somebody was behind them. Who's there? Apple Bloom asked. Help us, please, Scootaloo begged. Auntie Eclipse walked slowly around the Crusaders, facing them. Her horn glowed brightly, holding them in place. She scowled. Help you? She laughed again. I can finally stop you, preemptively. Chapter 16. Why are you doing this? Apple Bloom pleaded. Auntie Eclipse cackled. Oh, no, dearie. This isn't where I explain all my years of planning to you nosy fillies. This is where I leave you to the Timberwolves, so that I can carry out my own plans without your constant meddling. She turned her back on them and walked toward the forest. You'll never get to the Helm of Shadows. You'll never get to the Helm of Shadows, Scootaloo yelled. Auntie Eclipse paused. She was turned back towards the Crusaders, a nasty gleam in her eyes. Well, it appears you know more than you are letting on. I assume you also know about those, then? She gestured toward the pillars. With you three gone, I'll have the only ponies in Equestria with the ability to access the pillars' magic. I've made sure of that. So yes, I believe the helm will be mine, her raspy cackle echoed around the clearing as she disappeared into the forest. Sweetie Belle couldn't see the Timberwolves, but the growling and the splintering of wood behind them painted a vivid picture of what was happening. Any pony got any ideas? Scootaloo asked nervously. Sweetie Belle, you're a unicorn. Can't you use your magic to get us free? Apple Bloom asked. Sweetie Belle wasn't sure how to do that, but she powered up her horn anyway and tried to fight Auntie Eclipse's spell. Her hoof moved a little, but that was all. I can't break the magic, she panted from the effort. Sorry. What about the Peryton? Maybe it can help, Scootaloo said. Where is it? Sweetie Belle had no idea, but she knew how to call it. A rose of thorns to keep it safe, Sweetie Belle sang loudly. But ponies have not one. A wild rose blooms where it's placed. But ponies seek the sun. The last time she had used her song, she had felt the Peryton right away. This time, there was nothing. A bell chimed, but far off. "I heard that," Apple Bloom yelled. "Hello?" Sweetie Belle called into the dark. "Smarty Hoof?" Another bell. But why did it sound far? A very loud crack distracted her. Had the Timberwolf finally gotten out? The leaves on the trees around the Crusader started blowing wildly, accompanied by a tinkling of more bells. Sweetie Belle knew it was the Peryton, but why it wasn't helping them. Sweetie Belle, "Tell your friend we could use help like right now." Scootaloo was panicking. Desperate, Sweetie Belle tried her horn again. She scunched her face and put everything she had into it. Her horn sparkled, and suddenly she was free. I can move," Sweetie Belle announced. Maybe as anti-eclipse got further away, her spell got weaker? "How about we figure out how the details later? Get us free, please." Apple Bloom's voice was desperate. Sweetie Belle turned to help them and saw two large timber wolves crawling out of the ragged hole in the livewood. It was too late. She couldn't get both Apple Bloom and Scootaloo free. But she wasn't going to leave her friends behind. The timber wolves jostled each other, trying to squeeze through the hole at the same time. Sweetie Belle's mind raced. What was different about the livewood that was letting the Timberwolves break free now? Sweetie Belle thought back to Luna's story. The princess sisters had grown the livewood and created the Timberwolves, and then the Peryton wrapped the livewood in shadow. Shadow! Sweetie Belle knew what she had to do. She ran past her two friends, who called after her, confused. One of the Timberwolves tore free from the gaping hole and leapt toward Sweetie Belle, but she focused on what was in front of her, the giant flower. The light was so bright, Sweetie Belle had to close her eyes. She reached out with both hooves and pulled on the flower stem, hard. The light sputtered. She could hear growling and smelled the Timberwolf's putrid breath behind her. With a mighty tug, she ripped the flower out of the ground. The entire forest was thrown into complete darkness. Sweetie Belle heard what sounded like hundreds and hundreds of bell chimings and ringing throughout the forest. She heard the rush of wings, and her friends calling her name, and the Timberwolves yelp. She opened her eyes, but the forest was as dark as it had kept them closed. The bells continued for what seemed like forever to a scared little filly, but finally the forest was quiet. "Sweetie Belle?" Apple Bloom called. "Over here," she responded. She lit her horn so she could see her. Apple Bloom and Scootaloo rushed to her side and hugged her. Sweetie Belle looked up and saw two glowing white eyes staring down at her. "Thanks, Smarty Hoof," she said. The Peryton nodded its head towards her. Sweetie Belle turned and looked at the livewood. It was wrapped in shadow once more, and the Timberwolves trapped inside. She let out a long, relieved sigh. "How'd you know the flower was keeping the Peryton away?" Scootaloo asked. Luna called it a creature of shadow. "It can't appear in light. I think Lily Moon and Amber Moon family planted that solar flower to weaken the livewood and force the Peryton away. That's probably when it went and got Princess Luna in the first place." The bells chiming around them sounded like agreement to Sweetie Belle. "Sweetie Belle, I think you may have to face off against more Timberwolves than any pony ever," Apple Bloom said in awe. Shuddering, Sweetie Belle hoped this was the last time. "So now what?" Scootaloo asked. And for the first time since she had seen the Peryton, Sweetie Belle knew the answer. "We have to stop the Moon family from stealing the helm," she said grimly. "We need to talk to our sisters and their friends right away. I don't know exactly what Anti-Eclipse is planning, and I don't know if Lily Moon and Amber Moon are involved. We'll all need the help that we can get." "Yeah, nobody wants another Nightmare Moon on our hooves," Scootaloo said. The Peryton snorted in agreement. Sweetie Belle saw a glimmer of light sneaking over the tree line. It was going to be morning soon. Their sister would be furious, but Sweetie Belle wasn't worried. The Crusaders weren't just little fillies anymore. They were defenders of the live wood. "Let's go home," Sweetie Belle said to the others. "We got a job to do." The epilogue. As Princess Celestia finished raising the sun, Princess Luna joined her at the castle balcony. They both looked out over the land they ruled together as sisters. "I still don't know about this," Celestia said to her sister, concern in her voice. "They are so young." "It is not our choice to make. Forces more powerful than you or I have decided this is the burden they are to bear." Luna tilted her head. "Perhaps it is their youth that will be their strength." "How so?" Celestia asked. "The helm sings to the darker parts of a pony's nature," Luna said. "Perhaps in their innocence they have yet to face those darker emotions." But Luna's words did little to comfort her sister. If anything, Celestia looked more worried than before. "Let's hope this doesn't introduce them to their darker natures. I would never be able to forgive us if we sent them down the path it took so long to rescue you from." Luna had no response to that. She simply nodded. The sisters stood together silently, watching morning spread across Equestria, troubled about what the days to come would bring. The end. For now.